有人打开了连接异世界的通道。
我一定会将那个幻魔的天魔镜小子碎尸万段！
这股气息，似是大宗师。凡人岂能敌得过神奇之力？再这样下去，大家都会死在这里。
公子小心！
何人胆敢救我？
血迹不止，神魔不死。
Qin Mu and the other disciples nodded in understanding. Respect filled their hearts, and they began to grasp just how harsh and unforgiving the world of cultivation truly was. Qin Mu sensed that this battle was only the beginning, that a far greater conflict was quietly unfolding behind the scenes. In Lei City, the imperial army had already crushed the rebellion. The city itself remained intact, a clear sign that the fighting had taken place outside the walls and ended swiftly. Qin Mu was impressed by the effectiveness of the tactical training and military formations taught at the Imperial Academy. With the city secured, Qin Meng began visiting numerous herbal shops, purchasing medicinal ingredients from many different places. To outsiders, it seemed as though he was hiding something. That night, the group stayed at the yamen. The former city magistrate had already been arrested and sent to the imperial court. Throughout the night, a strong medicinal scent drifted from within the compound. Servants repeatedly carried out used herbal dregs, dumping them onto the stone-paved streets 7 times before dawn. The next day, after remaining in the city for half the day, the group finally continued their journey south. At one of the herbal shops Qin Mu had visited, a middle-aged scholar noticed something unusual about the prescriptions that had been used. This man was none other than Taoist Master Dao Quan, a spiritual physician. He quickly realized that these medicines were not meant to treat ordinary injuries. He understood that Qin Mu had deliberately disguised the formulas so no one could deduce the true condition of the imperial tutor's wounds. Impressed, he praised the boy's cleverness and declared that Qin Mu deserved the title Little Divine Physician Kang. Soon after, Dao Quan's disciples brought back the discarded medicinal residue that Qin Mu had thrown away. Dao Quan personally examined it and began reconstructing the formulas, relying on his deep experience in medicine. Hours later, he successfully refined 7 different remedies. They included a soul broth, blazing poison ointment, golden venom pill, steaming medicine, rapid evaporation elixir, and 2 distinct spirit pills, each with different effects. He was filled with admiration. Qin Mu's medical techniques were meticulous, precise, and exceptionally refined. Without delay, Taoist Master Dao Quan gathered the 7 medicines and flew toward Dali City, a major city on the southern border. Once a Buddhist land, it was now under imperial rule. He landed at Lo Kuang Temple and immediately entered the main hall. Inside Luo Guang Temple, the leaders of various sects had already gathered to welcome him. A man wearing a bronze mask stepped forward and greeted Taoist Master Dao Quan, guessing that he must be carrying important news. Dao Quan confirmed it. He revealed the 7 medicines he had brought and explained that from these remedies alone he was able to accurately deduce the condition of the imperial tutor's injuries after his duel with Zen the Wanderer of the Lesser Jade Capital. He invited everyone present to examine them closely. The official from Maliansen was visibly surprised. Dao Quan was known for his arrogance and had never once acknowledged the skill of another physician bearing the title Kong. Yet this time, Dao Quan openly admitted that although he had always believed himself unrivaled, he now held genuine respect for the medical mastery of that young Kong physician. One by one, Dao Quan explained the purpose of each medicine. a broth to heal damage to the soul, an ointment to counter fire-based poison, a pill to neutralize metallic or insect toxins, a medicinal gas for internal treatment, a vapor used alongside acupuncture needles, and 2 different healing supplements, each with a distinct function. As he described the injuries implied by these remedies, elders from different sects confirmed his conclusions. Some attacks targeted the soul, others planted poison, and some relied on venomous insects. Every method aligned perfectly with the diagnosis revealed by the medicines. Donghua then reached his conclusion. Although the imperial tutor had recovered for the most part, his injuries ran far deeper than anyone had imagined. Given 1 full month, Qin Mu would be capable of healing him completely, without leaving behind any after-effects. The master of the Palace of Passion Severance felt uneasy upon hearing this. He realized that the imperial tutor's strength had not yet fully returned, and that weakness could be exploited. The bronze-masked man, who revealed that he had known Zen the Wanderer for many years, explained that the duel had been evenly matched, as their strengths were nearly identical. However, in the end, the imperial tutor had emerged victorious and slain Zen. Donghua added that he had sensed a powerful pulse from afar, clear proof that Zen the Wanderer had truly perished. At this, Qiu Dai shot a suspicious glance at the bronze-masked man. He accused him of deliberately luring his old friend into a fatal trap, calling him cunning and deceitful for hiding his identity. If he could betray a long-time companion, who could guarantee he would not betray them as well? The masked man was defended by Che Dengli of the Three Wonders Castle. However, Chu immediately pointed out that Che Dengli was closely related to the imperial family, making his words questionable. As tensions rose, an elderly matriarch, one of the most senior figures present, spoke up. She stated that the masked man's identity posed no issue. With that declaration, Qiu could no longer press the matter. The bronze-masked man then addressed everyone in the hall. Since the imperial tutor was still recovering and had already sent Hesidalpeng to offer them 2 choices, the time had come for them to decide. Which path would they take? Silence fell over Luoguang Temple as the sect leaders discussed their next move in the face of the Eternal Peace Empire's looming threat. They all understood that the empire would not come lightly. It would bring its 4 pillars of state, grand generals, and countless high-ranking officials. Facing such power head-on would lead only to defeat. The senior official from Maliansan proposed a different strategy. Rather than confronting their enemy where they were weakest, they should exploit their own strengths and strike at the empire's vulnerable points. The sect leaders unanimously agreed. Then the master of the Palace of Passion Severance reminded them of a tragedy from 200 years ago. Back then, a once dominant school of combat techniques had been completely destroyed, not through war, but through a single debate with the imperial tutor of eternal peace. From that moment on, the lineage sank into obscurity, its practitioners nearly wiped out. The hall grew even quieter as that grim reminder settled over everyone present. In a bitter tone, he warned them that if they confronted the imperial tutor head-on and followed the old rules of the martial world, they would only repeat that dark chapter of history. When the bronze-masked man asked for a solution, the master of the Palace of Passion Severance proposed a far more ruthless approach. They should lure the imperial tutor to a chosen location, then strike together and kill him in a single, overwhelming assault. He emphasized that the imperial tutor was the central pillar of the Eternal Peace Empire. Once he fell, the empire itself would be crippled. The plan was approved by all the sect leaders, though several felt deeply uneasy. Unlike previous ambushes, this strategy blatantly violated the code of honor of the martial world and would stain their legacy forever. Taoist master Daoquan shook his head in concern. He feared that such underhanded tactics would corrode the spirit of the martial world and invite the rot of court politics into a realm that had once stood apart. Meanwhile, Qin Mu continued accompanying the imperial tutor as they reclaimed territory after territory. City after city fell under their control until they finally arrived at Exit City. There they encountered a ragged old beggar. Qin Mu instructed Hu Linger, a woman, to give him some alms. Shortly after, the beggar delivered a message. The heroes of the martial world were waiting for the imperial tutor in Daxiang City. The imperial tutor responded coldly, saying he would rather kill them outright and throw their bodies into the sea. When the beggar revealed a burst of terrifying power, Qin Mu calmly told Hu Linger to take back the alms they had just given. Enraged, the beggar cursed them and stormed off. The imperial tutor explained that the man was the sect master of the beggar sect, infamous for being narrow-minded and deceitful. Qin Mu intended to return to the academy, but the imperial tutor firmly ordered him to continue on to Daxiang City. Unable to refuse, Qin Mu quietly began forming a plan of his own. He went to an underground gambling den in the city and ordered the activation of the Heavenly Demon Sect's teleportation banners, summoning all halls and guards to gather at once. At that moment, Zi Yunxiang, a woman, appeared and opposed the decision. She warned that if the sacred sect intervened directly, they could lose their standing in the martial world altogether. Qin Mo replied without hesitation. Their reputation was already in ruins, and this was their only chance to rise again. When Shi Yunxiang questioned who would bear responsibility if something went wrong, Qin Mu answered calmly that he would shoulder all consequences himself. His resolve was unshakable. Though dissatisfied, Shi Yunxiang relented, warning him that the previous sect leader had died because of a single fatal mistake. After leaving the gambling den, Qin Mu clashed with Shi Yunxiang once more. He declared that if he ever had to be opposed because of his decisions, he was confident he would still emerge victorious. Drawing a line in the air, he expressed his absolute certainty that no one could rival him within the same realm, not even the imperial tutor. In a calm voice, he revealed the truth. He was the only sovereign body in the world, a rare and unmatched constitution that rendered him virtually invincible. His words filled Shi Yunxiang with both awe and doubt. At that moment, she finally understood why the patriarch had chosen Qin Mu as sect leader instead of her. As she watched Qin Mu walk away, Zi Yunxiang hardened her resolve. She refused to be weaker than him. Proudly, she recalled that the women of the Zi family were renowned for killing sect leaders. If her predecessors could do it, she believed she could as well. The next morning, they arrived at Flood County, which had been captured 2 days earlier. A soldier reported to the imperial tutor that many unfamiliar figures had appeared, carrying banners. The imperial tutor showed no surprise. In a flat voice, he simply asked, "How many are there?" The soldier answered, "About a dozen." They all wore bamboo hats that concealed their faces, carried hidden weapons, and moved with an air of suspicion. The imperial tutor ordered the soldier to withdraw, showing not the slightest concern. On the third day in Clear River County, their numbers increased dramatically. Dozens of people appeared in similar formations, faces covered, weapons concealed, identities unknown. By the fourth day in Hidden Mist City, their numbers had grown to the hundreds. Throughout this time, Qin Mu remained silent about their origins, and the imperial tutor never asked. On the fifth day, as they prepared to depart for Daxiang, mysterious figures began appearing one after another from every corner of the city. All of them wore bamboo hats, carried cloth-wrapped weapons, and followed from a distance. Chen Wanyun and the others grew uneasy. These people followed without a word, never revealing their faces. Yunku muttered in confusion, wondering where their banners were if they were truly standard-bearers. Yet the imperial tutor remained utterly indifferent. He walked forward at his usual steady pace, as though the suspicious crowd meant nothing at all. As they exited the city, they came upon a small pavilion near the gate, where two elderly men were selling tea. The two greeted them warmly and offered them cups of tea. Yunku hesitated, uneasy about stopping so soon after beginning their journey. The imperial tutor merely replied calmly, "I'm thirsty. I'll sit and drink." Qin Mu sat down as well, and the two elders joined them. Each raised a teacup in silence. Chen Wanyun and the others tried to approach, but to their shock, they could not get any closer. Though the pavilion appeared nearby, it always felt impossibly distant. No matter how fast they ran, they remained trapped in place, as if the pavilion drifted farther away with every step. After finishing the tea, the imperial tutor stood and bowed respectfully to the two elders. They returned the gesture. "Let us continue to Daxiang," the imperial tutor said. Yu King Hong glanced back and saw that the hundreds of strange figures had seated themselves around the pavilion, drinking tea in complete silence. The sight was deeply unsettling. Hu Linger, a woman, could not help but comment on how strange they all were. Yi Yun Shang, also a woman, leaned toward Qin Mu and whispered, "Is it over?" Qin Mu gave a short nod. "You'll know soon." On the outskirts of Daxiang, military camps covered the open land. Massive forces had already been deployed. A duke and two grand generals were present, yet the city itself had not been attacked. Once a fortified city guarding the southern border, Daxiang had now become the gathering point for rebel forces from across the realm. Thousands of soldiers, cavalry units, and sect followers assembled, preparing for a great war. Qin Mu watched as troops clad in golden armor trained relentlessly. These elite warriors reinforced their bodies until they grew as large as giants, donned heavy armor, and pushed massive cloud chariots in siege drills. The cloud chariots were fitted with flying ladders, enormous hammers, and various assault mechanisms. Soldiers climbed them, formed formations, and demonstrated coordinated battle tactics. High above, flying cavalry units maneuvered at blinding speed, unleashing storms of sword light that filled the battlefield with brilliance and death. After each pass, the swords returned neatly to their sheaths. The movements of the flying cavalry were like a raging storm, something ground forces could never hope to match. These aerial units employed complex battle formations, wolf packs and kite arrays, designed to harass and entangle the enemy until they were exhausted to death. There were also massive flying vessels, capable of transporting thousands of soldiers at once. several hundred such ships had already been mobilized, a clear indication that hundreds of thousands of troops had been assembled. Qin Mu was filled with admiration. The reforms led by the imperial tutor had transformed the military into an unstoppable war machine. Even the demonic sect would be unable to stand against such overwhelming force. Upon arriving at the main encampment, the imperial tutor held a brief discussion with the generals before leading Qin Mu and the others into Daxiang City. Sect banners fluttered throughout the city. Even the flags of defeated nations could be seen among them. The imperial tutor spoke with sharp disdain, remarking that the older generation needed to be swept away for true progress to be made.
Is everything ready? Qin Mu asked.
Yes, the imperial tutor replied simply. The city gates opened. 2 long rows of people appeared, standing on either side of the road. Behind them, vital qi surged and transformed into the phantasmal images of gods and demons. Qin Mu immediately recognized them as experts of the celestial being realm, some 60 to 70 in number. The sight was shocking.
有人打开了连接异世界的通道。
我一定会将那个幻魔的天魔这小子碎尸万段！
这股气息，40大宗师，凡人岂能敌得过神奇之力？再这样下去，大家都会死在这里。
公子小心！
何人胆敢救我？
血迹不止，神魔不死。